Welcome back to coverage of UKU Masters Nationals. Just a couple of points into this final game here between UKnighted, who punch in another goal to make it 3-0 up over Janitors. United come herring out of the traps in this game. Teams fighting against each other, and the inclement weather here at the Glastonbury tournament. A bit of a breeze in the air now that wasn't here this morning, and it's still been solidly raining all day. It's thankfully eased up a little bit at the moment, but it's still very wet in the air and underfoot. It's very easy to slip and lose your footing. We've seen quite a few people be snatched up by the turf monster already this weekend. I'm sure there's probably going to be a few more as well. And we've seen things like, we've seen simple catches go down, we've seen discs flop out of people's hands. It really is causing havoc with the teams here. But United seem to be doing a pretty good job of dealing with it early on, taking this 3-0 lead. It's a nice pull deep into the end zone. Oh, the throw for Janitors is high, tries to rescue it, can't do it. This is more excellent field position for United, and that's just a throw that they haven't been making. Obviously, you can't make the final unless you've been playing some pretty good ultimate. And that time, they just popped up, and he made a valiant attempt to keep it alive. Couldn't quite do it. And that's a nice, sensible swing to start the play for United, looking towards the end zone. Not seeing a lot. Isolates the reset. Tries to cut it coming free. Big layout, but doesn't get there. Continuation down the side of the end zone. Towed inbound, and United scored 4 on the bounce to start this game. A 4-0 lead. This is exactly the way they'd have wanted to start it. Janitors don't seem to have an answer at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised to see them take a time out at some point. Just racing out of the traps, United, this game. And something we've seen quite a lot in the Masters games today is teams struggling to put together a complete game, either having a good first half and a disappointing second half. There's a big layout bid, or the other way around, really just not coming out fast and then mounting a comeback in the second half when it's too late. And Janitors will be hoping they can begin to get some semblance of an offense going in this first half. Stop their opponents taking home the title. Ball was caught by Janitors, and their offense is going to start going. For an underneath. Throws an option towards the far sideline. Going to shoot it deep. That's a laser, and it's too fast and too far for everyone. Arrowed towards the back corner of the end zone, and no one's able to catch up with it. So more break opportunities here for United. Rather than the pitch have discovered a hole, so they're just going to cover that up with a disc. They've got one. Just checking that the hole's been covered up. Janitors will check the disc back in, so United will get to try and continue their break train. Or just going for a little movement in the backfield. That pass was low and was difficult even if the receiver was right there, and they're trying to spear it into the front cone. Just way too much sauce on it, because it just popped it up, little push pass maybe, perhaps. As it is. Get the disc back, but on that front cone, swinging it around back into the end zone. Looking for a continuation, just a bit too far. Bounces off the receiver's hands, and Get another opportunity to punch it in here. Again, right on the front of the end zone, looking for the quick pickup, trying to jam it in there. Doesn't see one, finds an option, high release backhand, has to make an acrobatic catch. But it will stick in his clasp, and the Janitors get on the point, get on the board in a slightly unorthodox fashion, but they won't mind. They're just pleased to get a 1 next to their name on the score sheet, and I hope that'll be the first of many from their point of view. 4-1 to United, the current scoreline. You got the feeling that if Janitors weren't going to score soon, this game would be over before they could even really get their heads involved. A bit chilly here in Glastonbury as well. Temperatures around 10 degrees. But obviously, if you've been absorbing all the rain all day, then it just feels a bit colder on your skin. It's not the nicest of conditions to play Frisbee in, but I think we've all played in worse. It's just one of the things you've got to keep your brain and your body warm and involved and engaged, so that you never know when your number might be called upon and you're ready to make the play that's necessary. Ball goes up from Janitors. Score and they're off and running. First time I've seen the United O-line for a while. Oh, just going to get a bit of a tip on it. Going to require a box out downfield. That's really nice defensive play from Janitors. Got a tip in the midfield and the throw hung, and it still required some extra work at the end of it. Did a very good job of positioning and boxing out to make sure that the United receiver did not have a shot at it. Now their offense is looking to get moving. Not a lot of options going on downfield. Takes a swing, pops up a little bit, well caught. Swung again, and now it's in the backfield. Finds an option downfield for a yardage gainer. Looking for a continuation. Finds one towards this near sideline. Cutters take off deep. Not going to look at them, instead trying to find a reset space. All very clogged around near that disc. Not a lot of space to work with. Right front our low camera now. Working down that sideline. Getting off into the centre. Shooting for the end zone. That was really nice play from Janitors. And that's what we were waiting for this game. Really rusty to start with, but they found their footing a bit more, and we're going to have a bit more of a contest than perhaps it may have seemed at one point. And United went 4-0 up, but that's 2 on the bounce now for Janitors. Recording a break to go with their first hold. 4-2 is the current scoreline here at UKU Masters Nationals. Been incorporated this year as part of the Glastonbury tournament, so the teams here will merge into the main draw for tomorrow, but for today, all Masters all the time, fighting to be crowned UKU Masters Champions 2018. It's a very grey day here in Somerset in the southwest of England. The wind beginning to pick up a little bit more as well now, so that's another thing these teams will have to contend with. Certainly testing conditions, this weather so far today, and I kind of feel that that's the sort of thing you should battle if you to call yourself the national champions. Shouts from the side of get the disc moving, make the opposition really have to think, make them always be on their toes as the disc is pinballing around the field. That was nice break to get it off through the cup. Now they're working around the back. Continuation cutting not there downfield, having to take a reset, and it's point blocked. He slams the door in the face of the thrower. They're looking for the third point on the bounce if they can push this in. Swings towards the side and now back in towards the centre. Continuation, thinks about forcing it through. Takes the reset back off instead. This is nice, patient offense from Janitors. See how long they can keep this up and try and force it in there. Perhaps that wasn't quite the shot they needed. United will get the disc back. And they're not in any mood to hang about and let the Janitors defense get set. They're already at about half field now, running the gauntlet down this near sideline. There's a lot of options on the far side of the field if they can get it to them. Should have looked for that continuation a bit earlier towards the far side, I think. But it just hesitated, tried to divert it back towards this near side, and that slowed the pace down a little bit. It's a nice find through. Just going to take the dish back off. Throw on this near sideline, looking towards the attacking end zone, right on the doorstep, on the precipice of the goal. Just can they force it in? They're going to be patient with it. Swing it, reeled in with one hand, big low fake. Couple of defenders there, really protecting that front corner of the end zone. It opens up the space for the dump, and they use the high release backhand to get it there. Now they're swinging around the back. I feel there's definitely a bit more urgency about this game than the pool games. Faking, trying to move defenders around, signal to the cutters what's a viable option and what isn't. And they've gone all the way back to half field. Excellent red zone defense from Janitors, just forcing them backwards, having them knocking on the door and just not letting them in yet. They're just moving quickly and just going to stagnate, hold the disc for a few seconds. The reset goes. Going to pop it back into this near channel, tries to squeeze it inside the cup, does a very good job of crashing in, stopping that being a viable option. They're going all the way back now, and this might open up a bit of deep space, but they've got such a tall figure patrolling that it's difficult to put it up. And they try and squeeze it through, and it's picked off in the middle. That's excellent shutdown defense. Just knew what they wanted, and it was protecting the goal line. Now they're going to shoot deep. Is it going to be a goal? Oh, it just bounces off his hands. I thought for a second it was going to be an amazing play, and it was still a heroic effort, but just couldn't quite reel it in. Agonising stuff for Janitors. Expansive blade over the top's going to open things up. A little bit of a misread, maybe conscious of the sideline behind her. It goes over the head of the receiver, and this is more good field position for Janitors. They are trapped on that cone, but they'd really back themselves to force it in here. They're doing the sensible thing and getting it in towards the centre of the pitch, giving them both sides to really attack. Higher round backhand, not quite in the end zone just yet. Looking, faking, tries to squeeze it in the IO. Big bid comes through, and it's going to be enough to dissuade the receiver from making the catch. They're going to try and pick it up quickly. Thinking about crashing the cup, going for that blade over the top again. This time it's well caught. Looking downfield, they've got a bit of motion. Oh, that disc is going to pop up in the air, and it floated. Let the much taller defender come in and shepherd the disc out of that far sideline. Receiver didn't really get a shot of that as soon as it popped up, and now Janitors is going to shoot deep, but it's well picked off. This game going at a frenetic pace now. End-to-end stuff. Yeah, trying to slow it down a bit at the moment at United, just be a bit more conservative, get into their rhythm. There's that blade over the top again. Doesn't take the continuation though down the sideline. Just going to pop it into the cup. They find an option through into the middle, and that's just an unfortunate drop. Got his hands in the right position, but just somehow slipped through his clutches. Hero evading a supervillain. They're going to go a high release backhand. It's going to sit and it's going to float, and really well reeled in, winning the height matchup. Had his positioning early, got his hands there. Defender wasn't able to come in and make the play. And Janitors now, after conceding 4 in a row at the start, they've now got 3 in a row of their own, and they've closed the deficit to just 1 at 4-3. Janitors are very much making a game of this. So exciting stuff here in the UKU Masters final at Glastonbury tournament. Benjamin Rees more than delighted to be bringing you coverage of what is a thrilling game. And the way this is gone in the opening paragraph, you get the feeling there's much more twists and turns and drama to come. And that's exactly what you'd want to see in a final. Any final, let alone a nationals final. sideline diagnosing the defence, pointing out the Janitors have gone into a zone, trying to clog upfield movement. There's 4 players in very close, 2 patrolling the mid-range and an option deep. Brief stoppage there, and it's going to take a little bump on the mark. Maybe got a disc to the face a little bit in the pivot. Seems to be all okay though, which is good. Just gets checked back in, pivoting around. Trying to force it through that front line of defence. Working around, really trying to zip these discs in. Not giving the defence a chance to rest. Receivers downfield trying to space out, leak through the coverage into open windows. It's a nice find through. And now they're getting again good forward momentum now. They're not pushing it too far as well. When the window closes and they can't force it forward, rather than wait and see what happens, they're going backwards quickly, and that means that the disc again keeps moving. And oh, scuba over the top. That's a lovely find. Great positioning, and somehow the throw to the end zone just can't quite get in there. Which is maybe a touch too far. Maybe the receiver lost their footing ever so slightly, but either way, after really uncorking a zone with a sensational little scuba, Janitors do get the turn on their own end zone line. And now they can tie this game if they can convert this possession here. It's no force, so going to take the time for their offense to get set. Takes the dump. Backhand around. Begins to blow, but is well caught. Flicking towards the far sideline. In the pitch, not quite in the end zone just yet, though. He's going to dust himself down. Going to be a travel called on the far sideline. Maybe his foot wasn't set properly on the line, it was set in the wrong place when the disc was brought back in. I think, oh goodness, just the feet not set in the right place, which meant that you get the throw off too easily without the force there. It's one of those rare situations where you see people call a travel and say, actually you were closer to the end zone. But all resolved. Oh, there's another violation. This is dragging a little bit. And you expect players of this experience to know when to move, but maybe just a little bit antsy. The occasion getting to them a little bit fast. Sideline calling for something a bit more creative in the throwing department. It was going to be a flick which is low, but it's saved. And again, thinking about aiming for the end zone. Not seeing an option on the break side. So to squeak it through. Oh, it's fumbled and caught at the second attempt. They made that a bit dicey than they needed to. The option was a good one. The catch, not quite as easy as it could have been, but it does count, and the scoreboard won't say, oh, it was 4-all on fumble. It will say 4-all, all counts the same, and now Janitors are tied up again after going 4-0 down to start this game. They have found the wind, and they are feel a bit like a freight train at the moment. Sweeping their opponents away. We'll see if UKnighted can rise from this little barren spell they've put themselves in. Them hoping they can conquer their opponents. So the Janitors will pull. We're tied back up for the first time since the game began at 0-0, so it's 4-all. Oh, tried to stop the pull. I don't think he got a touch on it in the end. I did bounce off his foot, and this is incredibly dangerous territory for United. Going to swing it across the back line of the end zone. It's, I think, almost like 12 out of the 14 players currently in the end zone. It's all cramped and congested. Do you manage to find some space? The issue is the defence. You can't creep up too much because that leaves plenty of space in behind you. Throwing themselves right in that back corner. Trying to blade it down the sideline, that's what I was talking about. The receiver just slips at the wrong moment though. I think he took a nasty knock as well. Ground just seemed to give from under, and you can see he's got a bit of damp grass stuck in his cleats. Talking about the defence crept up and it gave the space in behind for that blade around, but found at the wrong moment. And obviously, gotta hope that he's okay. He's gonna have to take a substitution. Disc is checked back in by Janitors, looking to take the lead for the first time this game. That's how unlikely did that seem 10-15 minutes ago. Dished off towards the far side. Trying to shoot it down that channel. There's a player wide open, just a complete busted coverage. And Janitors did well to identify it and take advantage of it. And all of a sudden they're in the lead at 5-4. And well, at one point it seemed like United would run away with it. Those of you who are believers in momentum would say that it's fully behind Janitors right now. Five, 4 up on their opponent. And I'm looking at they might be the side that runs away with it. So United's offense will look to score their first goal in 6 points, which is so unlikely after the way they started. This zone from Janitors has really gummed things up for them. Where before it was fluid and well-oiled, it's really put a spanner in the works. They're just content to slow this United side down, let them make their own mistakes. The weather caused them problems. They're just beyond the halfway mark now, but trapped on that far sideline. Trying to get it off, we'll squeeze it inside out through the cup. Again, resetting themselves back on that sideline. Force getting active. Take the dish off towards far white line. Try to squeeze it through the cup. And this is really stagnating now. They are grinding it down the field, but it is a grind. They've finally got a bit of space now in the centre of the pitch. Can they convert? They got to the red zone last time and just couldn't punch it in. Can do it this time though, getting low, and that backhand finds the target in the end zone. And they can finally stop the bleeding. Don't know who the operator was for the Janitors brake train, but it was certainly more effective than the one I used to get to work in the mornings. But finally United find the plaster and stop that gaping wound. 5-5 the current score. This is a thrilling UK Masters final here at Glastonbury Tournament. The weather may be cold and overcast and a bit miserable, but the ultimate certainly is not. It's a weekend of the autumn equinox as well, sure to be a fair few people making their way up the Glastonbury Tour this evening. And there'll be many more at the tournament, spending their time enjoying some of the other entertainment the local area has to offer, namely the bar. It's a nice low catch. Did a very good job of not ground stripping herself on the landing as well. And again, just spearing into these tight windows. United ramping up the defensive pressure at that point, and they're going to get a point block. Just a hand perfectly positioned. Smothered the throw like a blanket on a chip pan fire. Working it around the back, Janitors going back into this zone that has caused United so many problems so far. High release backhand over the cup towards the dump. Just going to cycle it towards that far sideline. It's a nice find sliding towards the ground to keep it alive. Squeezing it in the middle and trying to get it through. Oh, it's too far. Good effort. Love that they've tried to make the play, even though it was almost certainly going to be out of reach. Like the hustle and the want, but it can't get it to stick. Janitors find it underneath. Reset under tight coverage is caught. United pressure is very much in the face of Janitors at the moment. Just taking the swing, being nice and sensible and conservative with their offense. Finding the underneath. Inching their way down the field at the moment. Just a steady matriculation. Going to shoot towards the end zone though, and just the patience ran out. Thought they had a window and tried to force their way through it. Slammed down on their fingers though. United can retake the lead now. Back and forth stuff this game. Picking the disc up. Running that front end zone code though. Not an easy place to have it, and this hits the ground, but it's going to be an infraction that's not going to be contested, so it will stay with United. Trying to force their way through the cup. Oh, what a throw. Low release backhand all the way across the field, raking over the grass. Utilising the dump there. Moving downfield, the continuation. Finds the receiver inside. Takes the reset off. Continuations to split these defenders. Oh, that's a dangerous pass, high and floaty. And two defenders box out the United receiver. Actually does a good job as well of just making sure, took a bit of contact with one of the defenders, making sure they're okay. It's good to see that even in a final, the spirit is still incredibly high, and wouldn't really expect anything less of, given the standard of the game, the standard of spirit we've seen in the games we've streamed so far today. Finds the underneath. Going to shoot towards the end zone. Just to get, oh, somehow squeezed through. Oh, if you're United, that feels desperately unfair. The disc cares not for fairness. Somehow snuck through. Seemingly no room. Defender got a tip on it, but this is what you have to be heads up, and you have to have your head on a swivel, because you never know where the disc might end up, especially in wet conditions where throws come out weird and Ds get tipped. It was tipped, bounced off the first receiver's hands, and thankfully he had reinforcements to make the catch, and Janitors back in the lead now at 6-5. United calling a timeout here. Trying to wonder what happened to the side we saw in the first part of this game that was all over their opponents, and they've been replaced by this feels a bit timid outfit. So both sides breaking their timeouts. Janitors will pull the disc to their opponents. Things I quite enjoy about Masters tournaments, as well as seeing the players bring their little ones to the sideline, support their parents, is always a nice little thing to watch, I think. It's definitely a fun team at one of the fun tournaments I played this year, where the qualification to be part of the tournament was you had to bring your kids and they had to support on the sideline, which was a nice thing. But obviously that slightly affect your ability to go to the big parties in the evening. It's a slightly more civilised approach. We'll see what approach they take on offence here. United, that was a nice scuba, and there's a continuation there. They should have taken that pass. I think the option was open. Wasn't comfortable with it, maybe wasn't quite in the right grip in her hand, so she holsters it. He sets around the back, trying to time this continuation. It's well done, it's on the sideline. Go for the high release over the top. The defender's all over it though. Gets a hand, pumps it out the sideline. Spectator on the sideline nearly loses a beer. Don't worry everyone, it's still intact. Janitors bring it in. Nice low release. And a flick as the wind begins to pick up. Well, again, the throw dipping a bit there. Doing very well going to ground to keep it alive. And that's going to pop up. Somehow reeled in. Able to get his hand around it and claw it back into his grasp, but I rode their luck a little bit too much in the end, and that's just going to bounce out of the mitts. United will get the disc back. Squeezing it through, looking to get some motion going downfield. Taking the reset back. Now into the teeth of that cup. That receiver in close is allowing the cup to crash and really crowd the handler, but they come in too close. Blade goes down the sideline, acrobatically towed in, little bit of twinkle toes, ballet feet there, and tied back up once more at sixes. After that highly unusual start, United racing out to a big lead, only to immediately concede 5 on the bounce and give it up. These sides look pretty evenly matched so far. These past few points, neither side really able to pull away again. And it must be a huge boost for either side, knowing that actually at any point we can string together a load of points on the bounce. It's not been a game of 1s and 2s. Opening with 4 in a row for United and then 5 in a row for Janitors. It means, you know, that if you do dig yourself a bit of a hole, you can dig yourself out of it again. Ball from United is low, flats towards the ground. Put it by Janitors, they're going to send the receiver deep. They can find it, the throw's going to sit a little bit, oh, in the end just too much on it. Defender closed in and I think he saw the window and really tried to spear it in there, but took way too much power on it. overcooked. Throw should have been medium rare and it came out well done, and it just sails beyond the receiver. Deep receiver calling for the disc. Even if she doesn't get it, really trying to stretch that deep defender, make him respect that threat. Moving the disc around the back at the moment. Not gaining any yards, but happy just keeping possession. Keeping the stall count ticking over. Changing angles of attack. They are slowly but surely advancing it. A bit like trench warfare, just taking small ground at a time and eventually getting there. Nice around there, getting it back in the centre. Dishing it off with the lefty, now getting it back again. Just running lots of little give-goes down the field, shooting in towards the end zone. That was lovely stuff from United, and that's the first time they've really been able to beat that zone, and it was through utilising these quick give-goes, getting it just to popping it off to handlers, moving forward, surveying the field as they're making the catches rather than having to turn. And if you can get the disc in the hands of people who are already looking upfield, they can see these options developing as they're coming in to catch the disc, so that means they can get rid of the disc a bit quicker, which is a huge advantage. And using a couple of those give-go moves and really keeping the pace of the movement up as well. Another huge reason of why Janitors' defense wasn't able to get set in the right positions. That's going to take us into half-time. United 7-6 to the good. And well, that's the half they've got to be happy with. If you told them at 4-4 that they'd only be going into half 1 point up, I think they'd have been very surprised, but such is the way this game has gone so far. Picked out a couple of bits for you. That was a nice, took a bit of contact, but was all fair, good spirit. It's always nice to see. And again, the spirit so far today has been very high, it seems, from a sideline perspective already, which is nice to see. This was that blade, I think, down the sideline. See, all the defenders really cramp in, and that means that there's space behind, and does a really good job of getting the right trajectory on that throw and bending it to come back inbounds. It was an elaborate toe-in as well, which is good. Made him work for it, but he was more than happy to do it, which is nice to see. So 7-6 to United up at half-time over Janitors here at the UKU Masters National Final. Live from Glastonbury Tournament. After the Masters stuff wraps up today. Decides to feed into the tournament tomorrow as well, so it's possible that whoever wins this game, assuming tomorrow goes well, could come home with 2 bits of silverware on the weekend. United are going to begin the second half on defence, so on serve as the first half ends. We'll see what happens in the final stanza of the national final here from Glastonbury Tournament. Big ball goes up, it's going to, so is it just about going to stay in bounds? This is good field position for United, hustling down on the defence. Janitors working out of their end zone quickly there, very keen not to get caught in Callahan country. Swing towards the side. Oh! Alex Watts comes flying through for the D. Seems like it was shot out of a cannon. Oh, and it's given back in short order, just caught on his heels, and the Janitors defender came through. It's going to be a layout bid, and this second half is not going to hang around, is it? They're going to make it exciting for us, which is always good to see. Just going to take a chill pill, slow things down a little bit now. Oh, there's another huge bid. Watts gets to keep it in his grasp, swinging it into the middle. Continuation around towards that far sideline. Going to shoot deep for the end zone. Defenders there. Oh, I don't know whether he got a touch or not, or whether it was just phantom defense, but did enough. Got in the receiver's eye line. Couldn't get to stay in her clutches, and maybe took a bit of a heavy landing. I see it again on the replay. Really put all of his effort into it, and that's what you want to see in a final. You've got no more games today after this. This is it. This is why you came here this weekend, to call yourself the Masters champion. So there's no point leaving anything out on the field. Janitors make the substitution after the injury. And with disc is back in play. A bit lackadaisical getting the disc moving. No one particularly keen to attack after that. Restart, they're going to open it up, winding up the arm. That's a big shot. Utilising the height matchup well, throwing it deep to the big guys, never usually a bad idea. Use the box out very effectively. So we're tied at 7s now. Haven't necessarily seen a huge amount of the deep game in this final. You can see him wipe his hand, get ready, really pivot out, just bomb that backhand deep. It's a power bomb of a backhand. And then just coolly and calmly popped into the end zone. So we're tied up once more, 7 apiece the current scoreline. 13 is the score cap with half at 7. See which side can get there first. Janitors switching things up a little bit now here this possession. After United were able to shred that zone at the end of the first half. Going down in a single coverage look. It's going to be a pick downfield that's going to stop things. Rain coming down a bit more horizontally than it was earlier. And this is probably because there's a bit more wind in the air now as well. And that's going to be another thing these teams will have to factor into their throwing decisions. Nothing massively strong, but it's certainly a thrower's wind, you'd say. Separate the wheat from the chaff. United have the disc on the far sideline. Just going to take a simple reset. Doing the sensible thing into the middle. And then taking the poach player. Doesn't matter if it's a loss of yards, they're open. Never generally a good idea to take those open passes. Oh, it's going to zing that through. Low release flick. Shooting for the end zone. Oh, it's going to pop up. Mopped up in coverage by Janitors. They got a break chance. They can take the lead for the first time in this second period. Downfield, finding an option. Oh, that's a huge bid, keeping it alive. And they're going to shoot deep. Oh, it looks too deep. That's a throw you could say is pretty intense. Clearly someone had their Weetabix this morning. What a throw. Just spent too much time in the gym, maybe. Goes miles out of the back of the end zone. Going to need an Uber to be returned inbounds. I think pitch is just a smidge shorter than regulation size, and I think even if it was regulation size, it still would have gone out the back of the end zone anyway. So disc retrieved, using the treasure map to dig it out of the tents. Be a violation called. I think probably a marking infraction that wasn't corrected. So with the stall count not dropped, calling a subsequent infraction a violation. There's been a rules discussion here in the Masters final. Certainly something that I've seen in the past with veteran players is the rules adapt and change over time. Sometimes it's always difficult to make sure that you're using the right set of the rules, and I know that I've been guilty of this in the past, is using outdated rule sets, although not necessarily sure that was the case. Just turned over now. Janitors looking to punch it in. Trying to find the stand bar. There's a player wide open at the back of the end zone. Going to hit him over the top, and that's going to work. And Janitors will retake the lead here at 8-7. I would not want to call a winner in this game, because there are times when both sides seem like they're unstoppable, and then times where they're just give the disc up. It's very up and down, and it makes for an exciting final, I will give you that. A bit more of a sideline beginning to gather as the other games wrap up. Who are behind us in the clubhouse as well. Watching the conclusion of UKU Masters Nationals. Just doing a little bit of scouting. These teams feed into the draw for tomorrow. Don't know who you might end up facing. Ball goes up. Fielded by United, and they're going to look to tie things up here. More one-on-one defense from Janitors. Going to send the disc further into the backfield. Looking up an underneath cut that he doesn't like. Just taking a reset. Nice continuation, good timing on the swing. Although it's dropped, and this is going to give good field position for Janitors. Nicely dished off. Looking into the end zone, but it's going to take the reset. Cutter comes underneath. Again, not seeing what they want. Doing the sensible thing, resetting into the middle, giving yourself more avenue to attack down both sides. Going to try and squeeze it into the front cone. Jamming it in the jam hole of the Janitors. One of the Janitors. And they've taken a 2-point lead in the game for the first time. They edged their noses in front in the first half, but could never get more than one goal to the good. For the first time, they've got a 2-point margin, a little cushion over their opponents. 9-7, the current scoreline. So after that 4-point opening run, Janitors are bossing this game 9-3. Although obviously the 4-point opening run did happen, so you can't ignore it. Good ball was rolling in the end zone and not fielded, but most cleanly by United. And again, they've got tough field position to begin with, swinging around the back. Trying to fake it, trying to jam it through. Pop it off behind. just about out of their end zone now, but not by much. There's still horrible field position, even if Johnson Callahan is less likely now. Let's isolate the dump in the end zone. Sideline beginning to get louder. Cause some disruption for this United offense. He's able to get it through. Nice swing towards the far sideline, but there's no continuation there. Just has to pop it off to the handler. On the run. That's a nice low throw, and that one goes to no one. Janitors sweep it up. There's the hooter, so we'll finish the point and add 1 to the highest score. We're not going to reach the 13-point cap. Dribbling around the back, taking the swing. Going for an IO flick right towards this near sideline. Go for the high release backhand, towed in the end zone. It's going to make it 10-7 now to Janitors. They've just run away with it in this second half. United took half 7-6. All 4 points after the restart have gone Janitors' way. And they're brushing their opponents aside. Seems to be some discussion on the side about whether that is the hooter for this game or for the other games. To leave it's 10-7 in a game to 11, so United would have to score 4 on the bounce, and this is why coming out to that hot start, as obviously as well as getting the points on the board, is good for you mentally, because you know you can get 4 points in a row because you've done it at the start of the game. And while it may be difficult, you know that it's not impossible. Ball goes out from Janitors. It's got a bit of outsider and it hits the turf. Not their best ball, but getting there quicker. It's confirmation on the sideline that it is game to 11. Janitors is going back to the zone now. Throw pops up, it's reeled in anyway. Spacing downfield, they're not necessarily finding options, and as I say, that's a nice scuba, getting it over the top, run into the receiver's arms. That would be a really good pub name, the receiver's arms. Anyway, gonna shoot deep with the blade. Oh, that's well underdone. It's dropped to the turf, although I think even if the defender wasn't there, Cutter wouldn't have caught it. United really trying to fire out their teammates on the sideline. They know that unless they can get a turn here, it's game over. Looking deep. Oh, it's going to be not enough on it. There are 3 receivers nearby, and it just somehow landed in the middle of all of them. United will pick it up once more. That's a nice catch, somehow sticking in the claw. Inbounds on that sideline, right in front of the scoreboard. There's plenty of players in plenty of space on this near side, but can't get it over the top. Instead tries to shoot down the far sideline and is picked off. About halfway now, thinking about ending it with a big one. He's going to take the reset instead. I feel like the sideline's kind of egging them on to go for the glamour win. But forcing them just to make underpasses over and over and over rewards United with the turn they so craved. There's an option on the far sideline. Really utilising the full 360 degrees you can on that pivot, getting forward and getting low to get out The continuation's dropped and throw pops up out of the receiver's hands. A few turns in quick succession. Trying to find the spacing, nice over the top, finding the right matchup there. Disc is a bit behind, goes to ground, makes the catch. Dished off, going for the high release, looking to that high matchup again, and it's just going to sail out the back of the end zone. Almost basketball style, just trying to post up the defender, and the throw was off target out the back of the end zone. And they're going to call a timeout. Let's have a couple of spectators slash hecklers on the sideline with some friendly booing. Timeout's not always the most popular decision for spectators because they have to stand and watch a bit of nothing for a bit, but I think tactically from the Janitors' point of view, it's smart. You've got a timeout to use, so obviously if you score this point, it's game over, so you may as well use it now. You're on your own end zone line. You want to be careful about getting a set play drawn up, getting yourself out of the shadow of your own end zone. Obviously they'll be keen to avoid the curse of the turnout, which you've seen so much on the stream over the years, where you draw up a play out of a timeout, it doesn't come off, and you can't find an alternative option, you force something that's not quite there, and it just turns over. And it happens way more often than you feel that statistically it should, given that this is the ball's in your court, so to speak. Obviously, the one disadvantage of a time, obviously you get to choose to set your offense, but the other disadvantage of a timeout is that the opposition can have time to really adapt their defense, and maybe in this timeout United will say, well, they're expecting us to do one thing, so we can come up with something slightly different on defense. We've been going one-on-one, so maybe now we'll switch it up and go for something a bit zonal. We'll find a hybrid maybe, perhaps. We'll switch our matchups with the timeout called as soon as the disc was brought to the line. There's no stall count, which gives them the ability to put whatever force they want on there without sacrificing a high stall. Obviously, if the disc was on a relatively high stall, there's no way you'd switch the force and give that up, but with no stall count on, you can put whoever you want on there, so you can put your best force on, you can switch the matchups you had. Timeouts cause a fascinating tactical battle. Just checked in for Unite for Janitors, and it's going to be out of bounds. First point of contact, that right foot out of the end zone, so we do get the timeout. The throw just popped up, was caught out of bounds though. Trying to pick up quickly, send a handler coming down the line. Oh, just doinks the catch, bounces out of the hands. Sideline getting loud. No, trying not to let Janitors strike quickly before the defense is in position. Finding an underneath cut. Beckons receivers underneath. Squeezes a throw down this near side channel. Looking for a disc into the centre. It's on this near side. Again, trying to swing it off the line. They're supposed to attack the far side of the end zone. Is it in bounds? Yes, it is. Janitors are your 2018 UK Masters National Champions. Well deserved. They dug themselves a massive hole at the start of the game, but needed all their experience and mental fortitude to fight their way out of it. And in the end, it's a pretty comfortable scoreline, running out 11-7 victors over a valiant United side. It was a thrilling final. There were twists and turns, there were big plays, and when it was 4-0, if someone had told you that United were going to lose that game by 4 points, I think you'd have been highly surprised. Seeing the replay, that final score again, the pressure is tight, but it's not quite tight enough. And the relief on his face as well, like that he goes around to check on the defender, make sure that he's okay. See people already descending onto the clubhouse, ready to begin this evening's festivities. And who can blame them, in all honesty? Thrilling final, something that deserves a little bit of celebration, and there's no doubt that both of these teams will be celebrating a hard-fought final tonight. It's got a couple of replays for you. It was the layout D on that underneath end zone shot. See it again from this low angle. Tries to squeak the inside through, and it's a huge D. I love this cheeky little throw. This was a blade down the sideline, drew the zone in, and was able to bend it around them. Perfect trajectory on this busting blade. And this was the point that sealed it. A little bit of IO leading the point, leading the thrower towards the end zone, dishing the backhand towards the break side into the end zone for the win. And that will bring an end, a conclusion to the day's festivities here from UKU Masters Nationals / Glastonbury Tournament. I've been Benjamin Rees. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks to Will and Des, our camera crew. Thanks to the staff here at the Tour Leisure Centre, and thanks to Ed as well, our tournament director, who's done an excellent job so far today. Have an excellent evening, everyone. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow for the second half of Glastonbury Tournament. Have an excellent evening.